Seems now more certain than ever.
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about. It is my honor and privilege to testify before you on the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
A new UFO whistleblower.
Okay, I'm Wendell Stevens, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force, retired. I have been investigating this phenomena for over 50 years. It actually began in the Air Force when I was reassigned to Alaska. I was working in the Foreign Technology Division of the Air Technical Intelligence Center at Wright Field. We had an incident that happened over Tucson in, I think it was about 1975 or 76, where a B-29 bomber was refueling on a tanker over the Catalina Mountains north of Tucson. And while they were doing this, a big disc about 60 feet in diameter came in close to the refueling operation as though it was observing it, and both the tanker crew and the B-29 crew watched it. And it stayed there for 12 to 15 minutes. They all rotated the crews again, everybody got a look at it. They reported this in their coded reporting, and when the airplane landed, the crews were separated and into separate rooms, and headquarters, Air Defense Force, Western Air Defense Force area was notified. They had an official Air Force UFO investigation team, and that team was headed by a major. He had about 2 staff sergeants, he had a tech sergeant, I think he even had a master sergeant on the team. He had another officer with him, and when the case was reported, Western Air Defense Force area said, keep them separated, we're on our way over. And they arrived the same day in military aircraft. And they set up interviews the next morning in the base courthouse at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. And they were bringing the crews in one at a time for separate interrogation, and stenographers were taken, like we did in Alaska, taking down their testimony.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Epic TV and the Order of Light. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing Dustin Schutta, a dedicated UFO researcher and a collector of UFO memorabilia. Dustin is the host of Flying Chariots, the Rise podcast, alongside his co-host, Chrissy Du Bois, where they explore cutting-edge topics in ufology and the paranormal. With 13 years of experience in the field, Dustin has developed a profound understanding of these subjects. And in this episode, we will delve into the remarkable collection of 200 lost UFO photographs, which were recovered from a UFO auction. As the sole proprietor of this extraordinary collection, Dustin is excited to share his insights with us. So just sit back, relax, and prepare for an enlightening discussion, because here we go.
Hello, everyone. It's Robert Earl White with the Order of Light here today with Project Horizon to go over these phenomenal 200 lost photos from the Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens. This is going to be absolutely amazing. So tonight's guest, Dustin Schutta, coming from Wisconsin, he's here today to present some of his findings. But before we get to these photographs, please hit that like button, subscribe to the page. So Dustin, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how in the world did you become interested in the subject of UFOs?
Well, I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and back in October 19th, 2012, I had my own personal UFO sighting. It was absolutely mind-blowing. My car was parked on Kendall Avenue that was right behind Hoyt Park. It's a big park on the west side of Madison. And I was leaving my girlfriend's apartment, going to my car, and I just so happened to look into the sky, and out of the clouds comes this black silhouette of a boomerang with 5 white dim lights about 40 feet above the treetops, going about 45 miles per hour, right above my head. I was just shocked. My hair stood up, my stomach dropped, my jaw dropped. The fact that it was dead silent was just boggling my mind, because I was like, well, that was a cool military plane, but why is it dead silent? And there's this, I ran back to my girlfriend's house. I wigged out. I was like, you won't believe what I just saw. And ever since that day, I just dove super deep into the UFO subject, finding out that Wisconsin is a treasure trove for UFO sightings and even ancient astronauts. So I did my own personal exploring, doing my own independent research, finding out that 3 towns in Wisconsin claim to be the UFO capital of the world: Dundee, Elmwood, and Belleville. All 3 towns have yearly UFO parades by decorating their cars like flying saucers and dressing up like aliens and reminiscing UFO stories. Elmwood has been the longest running one since the 1940s. George Wheeler, who's a sheriff there at the time, was reporting seeing one of the first ones back in the 50s, and he actually got hit with a blue beam and died a year later, and his family thinks it was because of that incident, that some radiation poisoning. But again, just started this whole journey for me, just to find out who these people were, go to these towns, talk to some of these other people who have seen stuff in the sky. And then about I'd say about 2.5 years ago, I caught wind that Colonel Wendell Stevens was having his storage locker up for auction, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I had a long description of like who was taking care of his storage locker. I guess one of his associates, because he died about like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. And yeah, so his associate, it died, and then it was opened up to the public, and I was lucky enough to get into it, and I won about, I don't know, 200 photographs out of these 2 boxes that came out of it. And yeah, it just started this whole journey of just collecting and getting deeper into the UFO subject and meeting other people who are deep into the subject.
Dustin, that was incredible. Thank you for explaining everything to us. And that UFO sighting sounds insane, my friend. I had a sighting back in 1993 that was pretty awesome. And I understand the fear and the anxiousness that runs through your system when you see something like that. And for those that don't know who owned that storage unit, that was a gentleman by the name of Gordon McDonald. And Gordon worked with Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens for many years. They went on a lot of investigations together. And Wendell died, I believe, September 7th of 2010. And let me just tell you a little bit about Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens. He's retired in 1963 from the Air Force. He lived in Arizona. And Wendell Stevens was a retired Air Force pilot turned UFO investigator and researcher. Wendell began his military career in the Army Air Force in 1942, right after World War II, in the newly formed Air Force. Wendell participated in many secret programs, including those of which that had him investigate UFOs. Having this official inside knowledge, he knew that there was something more to the phenomenon, so he began his own private research and investigations. Since then, Wendell has collected more than 4,000 actual UFO photographs, and he has written and co-authored over 30 books on extensive UFO contact cases. Stevens also had been the director of the International UFO Congress since his inception, and he's an original founding member. He investigated many high-profile cases, such as the Billy Meier and the Aztec UFO crash in New Mexico. So that's just a little bit about Wendell. And today we have some amazing photos to show everyone. There's over 200 photos in this collection. Each one is more mind-blowing than the next. And what really astounded me when I was talking to Dustin, both Robert and I, were the vast majority of these photos come with the negatives. Now that's rare in the UFO game. Primarily you'll get a photo or a video or a still shot of the video. But when you get the negatives with the photos, that is quite amazing. And I would like to show everybody real quick some of these amazing photos. One of them that I have here with me right now is the F-117 chasing a UFO over the ocean. And you can see the F-117 up above, that is the stealth fighter, and the UFO down below oceanside. And it's alleged that that UFO came out of the water and that F-117 did a turn to engage the craft. And there are multiple images of that F-117 in different stages of flight chasing that UFO, and you're going to get to see it all today.
The possibilities are so vast. What their objectives are, I would have to believe from what I see that each one has his own game, that there is no common approach to the Earth species, that we're just another species that is being examined by different species because we are different from them in some degree. The humans are examining us because we're different humans. The other species because we're different creatures. And I don't see any peculiar pattern of contact here myself, because it appears that we're accidentally discovered by, there doesn't seem to be any program of contact to this planet except by a given species from a given planet at a given time. And there doesn't seem to be any organized relationship involving this planet that would indicate a major project of some kind by somebody. So I've got to believe that our planet, our sun even, is off in the boonies. It's not a part of a regular traffic system. We don't have regular visitors. The ones that find us are happenstance, and they appear here occasionally when they discover what appears to be intelligent life on this planet. And I find evidence in the way that develops that many of the alien visitors only encounter other alien visitors here. That space is so vast and the cosmos is so vast that they just don't encounter each other until they're both in the same place at the same time doing something related. So the Reticulans met the Pleiadians here, and they didn't know about them before that because there was no traffic with them.
So Dustin, I heard that you had an amazing interview with Paula Harris. Can you tell us more about that? Because I know that she was highly interested in Wendell Stevens' research.
Yeah, no, I was very fortunate to have Paula Harris on my show. She was on my podcast, let's say maybe 6 months ago or maybe more. But anyways, she was friends and colleagues with Colonel Wendell Stevens. And even when she was younger, she did stuff with J.L.N. Hynek. And I was very honored to be on the phone with her for 2 hours, talking about the photographs that I had, talking about Wendell. And she was like saying that Wendell is proud of me that I have these, and showing the world that, you know, these photographs that need to be seen.
Stevens called me. It was in the 70s. So the book had just come out. The Billy Meier picture book had just come out. And I just remember he called me on the phone. And as he was on the phone, Alan Hynek walked into my house. And I said, Alan, Wendell is on the phone. And they talked, and in those days, there was no program for cheap. They talked for an hour and a half, and that phone bill was over $300. And I'll never forget it because, Hynek just walks out, and I'm going, you guys talked, and Wendell was in Arizona. You guys just talked for an hour and a half. I didn't get the bill. So, I was like, but that's how I knew him, was that he and Alan would exchange stories. But you got to remember that Wendell was never alone. He introduced me to this guy named Mel Noel. who I don't know what his real name is. He was a pilot. I have pictures of them both together in Laughlin, Nevada. Mel Noel is real name. He's famous because he has gun camera footage of UFOs. So Mel Noel and Wendell Stevens traveled to South America a lot. And I would sit with Wendell in Laughlin, and he would tell me that the real story is in Latin America. And I knew that. I know that now because the last 3 years I've been working only in Latin America. I've been to Colombia, Chile, the Atacama Desert twice, Peru, the Chilca Desert, where all the contact happened, and I spoke in Argentina in January of this year. So I know that what Wendell was saying was real, that the real stuff was there, that the real test. I mean, when you go there, they don't want their own TV show. It doesn't become about them. They don't have all the guru stuff. You know, I'm a contactee. You go there and you talk to the common people, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, we see him. Yeah, I saw that spaceman up in that mountain talking." You know, and then they go back to what they're doing. It's no big deal.
So I was just like, I was more starstruck than anything. I've been studying in this field for a long time, and I've been watching these people on documentaries, and like just been really indulged in the subject. And again, now I'm like talking to people that like I idolized and seen on Ancient Aliens and shit. I'm like, what the? So again, very, very surreal. That again, the fact that I'm just love collecting, and I happened to run across this auction and score these was kind of the golden ticket, and to get into this UFO community even more than I thought I would ever get into it. But no, it's a love and drive that I have, like, in finding like-minded people like yourselves, and yeah, just going full force with it, you know, just getting this out there to people because they need to fucking see this shit. Because I'm sorry, like the latest whistleblowers with their fucking videos and photographs are so weak. I could show them this shit and the government would shit themselves. I'm pretty sure the FBI or CIA or Men in Black are going to become knocking on my door here soon. Or if I disappear, I can only imagine what conspiracy theories are going to be out there. Holy Christ. So that's why being a whistleblower now, maybe right for myself, being as loud as I can will save me in the long run. Who knows? So, yeah.
Hey, Dustin, man, I was hoping that maybe we could show the audience some of these amazing photos. I know you have over 200 of them in a book. I'm sure the audience will love to see that. What do you think? You think you could show us some of these photos? I know they're dying to see them.
I could definitely do that. I got it right here on the side. This is, I had to buy the book myself, but I put it all together. And yeah, me flip through some of the photographs here. But I did pull out a few just because this thing weighs a ton, and there's just so many. We could do episodes, tons of episodes on this book alone. So I have a few of them that I like the most, and it's this one here. I don't know if it clears up there, but this one's the F-117 with the UFO out in Pensacola, Florida, 95. This thing popped out of the water, and the F-117 was taking swoops at it. I have 12 of these photographs of the F-117 taking swoops of it, so different motions, and you can see it just going across the landscape. It's just awesome. So again, that's not really it's kind of very, very rare that you have a series of photographs of a UFO going across the sky and interacting with the aircraft. So this is one of my favorites, and beautiful. And then the other one is taken in New Mexico back in 1965 with Paul Villa. He was a contactee. This guy claimed that human-like ETs would come visit him. He would get like a telepathic message to go somewhere, and he would just follow his nose basically, and then it just pop up, and he would just take out his camera and take shots of him coming in to pick him up or interact with them. He said the ETs claimed that his soul had some connection to theirs, race of being, and he really didn't understand that at the time. So, and the most interesting about Paul Villa was he didn't come out with his story. He showed his friends and family these photographs, and his friends and families are the ones that took some of the photographs and showed the public, and it ruined his life. He became like a hermit because other UFO researchers claimed that he was a hoaxer, kind of like the whole Billy Meier thing. But again, the fact he makes him opposite of Billy Meier was this dude didn't want any attention in the first place. You know, his friends and family kind of just ruined his life, so he became a hermit after people just kept on coming up to his door and harassing him and shit. But in my eyes, and in Colonel Wendell Stevens' case, it's very relevant and important, especially that story, at least for me, because he was a World War II veteran. He had no reason to lie, especially when he was coming out with his own story. So very crazy. And this one is another up-close shot when these two housewives are taking a walk out in Mexico, 94. September 25th. So very crazy. And I'm guessing there's a series of photographs of this because it's like seeing this thing slowly come into view, or did it just pop up? Who knows? But the girl is straight up pointing at it. Very crazy. This other one, this has another series of photographs of it going across the fence and over some house. I think this was Joe Clower. I might be saying it wrong. Joe Clower. I think this is in 92. Yeah. Very cool. And I don't know where this was taken, but the shape of this UFO is amazing. I have two shots of it going across the sky. Very unique. It kind of reminds me of what I saw, but like the boomerang shape. It's a black silhouette. It was like that, and then the lights were very dim, like that. They were really bright. But yeah,
The best photographs I'd ever seen, and that's usually suspect. You usually, if the pictures are good, they're probably too good. But these stood all the testing that we could give them, and even over what more than 20 years of testing now, we haven't been able to find any way that they could have been faked. They're not montages, they're not double images, none of the regular things. Now we learned in the process of testing these things, we learned a lot. We learned that we can take a still two-dimensional photograph, and by examining the photograph with computers and measuring pixels and everything else, we can find out if any object in the picture is moving, which direction it's moving, and about how fast.
trippy, right?
You have some other pictures that you wanted to discuss. Some are absolutely fascinating because you have the negatives to go along with these. I believe I was watching an episode just the other day with Michael Chariot. He's a noted UFO historian, very famous, very brilliant. He's actually working with Dr. Stephen Greer right now. You had a couple images of a disc-shaped craft over the ocean. Do you have that image with you right now?
I do, right in hand.
Can we show it? Okay, so that's the image we were talking about backstage. And this is the same image I saw Mr. Michael Chariot speaking about. And he had believed that it was possibly an early alien reproduction vehicle and or a drone of its time. What do you think about this image? Because I'm really curious.
Well, this guy's Eric Thompson.
Okay.
And he was at the Massillon Beach in South Australia, and it was March 10th, 93. And he was out on the beach, and he so happened to see this thing come out of the water and fly over his head while he was seeing another object come out to meet it.
Whoa.
So the thing came out of the sky and went underneath it and went inside of this thing.
So this is the same object.
Same objects.
And I could see beneath it now there's an opening in that object.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And if I'm not mistaken, do you not also have negatives for these?
Of
I-
these photos.
I do. And the best thing about some
Whoa.
of the photographs, this is Colonel Wendell Stevens' handwriting.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Incredible.
And I do have the negatives to them.
So, in my opinion, Robert, I'm sure you agree. That's the smoking gun right there.
Oh, man.
Is negatives.
Negatives.
And I can see in the negative, I can actually see the secondary object going into it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean, what year was this again?
This is a 93.
93. Wow, the year I had my sighting.
Yeah,
How
that's
about
right. Anthony, that's the year you had your sighting.
Yeah, with a black triangular craft over Staten Island. Now
That had another part of it come out of it, very similar to what this is.
Okay.
I was just going to say that. So the triangle was like this, and then a second triangle peeled off it on a 45 like that. And what's fascinating about your story is, well, the photos you're showing is that this is a craft that had another craft go into it, 2-for-1, and it was in 1993.
With negatives. With
And
negatives.
Yeah.
That's a
From
game
Australia.
changer.
Wow.
I've never seen the negatives to these before, ever, anywhere. So,
UFOs down under, right?
Yeah,
Am I right,
literally.
boys? Wow.
Literally. That
Now
is
that's a
impressive.
UFO.
If I may, the
Wow.
UFO before it enters the other craft and it's just hovering over the water. Can we take a look at that one more time? I think I know. Was there some windows or something on that? I can't really.
It looks like vents to me.
Vents.
Very interesting.
Yeah. You had me put it away already. Damn
Well, who told you to clean up?
it. Dang.
So many photos, it's impossible to keep up. You
I
gotta
know.
love it.
Ridiculous.
Whole entire album just filled with mind-blowing disclosure and evidence of UFOs. And also it's important. Oh, here we go.
That is
Vents.
absolutely
So
remarkable.
not windows, vents, you're saying.
Okay.
Okay.
That is remarkable.
Windows
Yeah.
hand.
Yep, there you
Remarkable.
go.
Remarkable.
Wow.
That is incredible, man. And what other ones did you pull out over there? You get any other ones that you pulled out that had negatives, or was just those?
Those are the only ones right now that I have.
Yeah,
Yep.
the ones
Yeah,
you
yeah,
pulled out.
That's amazing. So you've had this book in your possession for how long now?
About 3 years.
Okay, so like after
Two-
looking, I'm sure
two
you
and a
looked
half,
at, sure you looked at every photo,
Oh yeah.
multiple.
I host UFO gatherings here in town with other
Yeah.
like-minded people and other podcasters, and I showcase this. So it's a big hit every time we go out and have people gather around and get as close to actual original photographs of UFOs. Again, like no one ever gets close because a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
is like thrown in some researcher's locker or
Yeah.
Mhm.
basement or
What's your take on what you see there? Do you think any of them could have been staged or hoaxed, or like what's your honest
because a lot of my collection comes from the 60s and 70s and 80s. There's no Photoshop, so a lot of it is so hard to fake, especially like Paul Villa. Like a lot of stuff that the ships are the size of school buses and stuff like that. Like, and not throwing a frisbee up every damn time to catch it just right to make it look like it's just coming in and stuff like that. And sometimes he had.
I only ask because we're all familiar with the Billy Meier case. We know Wendell worked with Billy, and we know that Billy made a lot of these models. And, throughout the test of time, we've learned how he kind of accomplished the trick. You would make a model that was like 4 feet in diameter, and you would hang it from a string very close to the camera. So it would look like it would be off to the distance, and it would be gigantic, but it was just like the dimensions and how they placed it. But you looking at these, or all of us looking at these photos for the past couple of weeks now, a lot of them aren't like crystal clear. They're like distorted, a lot of them, in the image, and that says to me they were like in motion in the air, kind of, you know what I mean? Like if it was a model, I think you would see it would just be perfectly crystal clear and super duper sharp, and a lot of those images, they're not. And a lot of those images, aren't sitting, for example, a lot of those images aren't just sitting straight like that. A lot of them are tilted on an angle. Some of them are totally on their side, and they fly, just like Bob Lazar said, belly out towards the direction they want to go. Now, I think you would have a very difficult time trying to stage that back then. And another interesting fact is a lot of these images come from different people that Wendell just happened to meet, out researching, and people contacting. So for them
all around the world. Right.
So in order for them to be fake, everybody would have had to be in on the same techniques and, use the same camera and the same tricks on how to do it. And that just doesn't jive with me. All right, maybe out of 200, a couple of them, were fudged. Who knows? And I'm just speculating here. But out of 200 photos, I think you got like the honeypot right there, man.
If just one,
you got Willy Wonka's golden ticket, bro.
If just one is real, speculating, which we know there a lot more are absolutely real because we have negatives and other, sources. Yeah, right. But if just one out of 200, that's a game changer because these photos are clearer than anything that the Pentagon or Aero offices or any other sort of UFO agency has put out. And also, we personally want to thank Dustin because so many people within the UFO community, if they came across this, they would hoard them and charge all of you thousands and thousands of dollars. And Dustin is openly sharing these with the world because he believes that the world needs to know. This is actual disclosure. And he is on standby waiting for those that want to see them to learn more about them. He's there. So, hello, news agencies and everyone covering disclosure, you got to contact him. Get a hold of him.
And again, I think it was very surreal that people started hitting me up like his old colleagues to verify what I had. So it made it even more of a real thing. Like, especially when I was talking to Paula Harris on the phone and getting her own view too of the Billy Meier case, because she actually went to Switzerland too and went on the Billy Meier down the rabbit hole herself.
A lot of people.
Yeah, and she found she had the same theory that I did, that she thinks that he did have the contacts in the beginning and then it got cut short, and then that's where you kind of see all the fake pictures that you were describing of like fake models and just kind of the strings and shit. But yeah,
and I can totally understand that. You have this amazing contact with off-world entities that chose you for whatever reason, and then it just stops. And you know how that works. You're starting to pick up notoriety, all these amazing things that happen, and you get a little celebrity going, and the girls start rolling in, and the talent agents, and everybody wants a piece of you, and you make the money. Then all of a sudden it just goes away. So now what do I do? And you want to keep that rolling. So I guess he started embellishing somewhat. And his embellishments, he was extremely talented. He's one arm. The guy's, first of all, his life in general, Billy Meier, he did some amazing things early in life. Like he did. World traveler. He has some amazing stories. But then, like you said, towards the end, he started embellishing. And we see that a lot in ufology. Unfortunately. And that's why, Robert and myself and our partner, Mike Patrick, we decided to start Project Horizon so we can bring all these amazing things to the forefront of ufology, plus the tracking and triangulation and data, and give it back to the world for free. And just the sheer fact that you want to bring all this to the world for free is amazing, because I see some of these photos online. I saw one of them online going for $35,000.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
You know what I mean? It's mind-bending. And for you to be going out of your way to try to show the youth of today getting into ufology what happened in the past, I commend you for that. That's a big deal, man. So I give you a lot of credit for doing that.
they were meant to go to you, Dustin. I'm glad you're the gatekeeper of them and that you're sharing them freely.
Yeah,
You know?
I consider myself a custodian, so
Yeah.
and a collector. So yeah, this again, the world needs to see this. They need to question it more, and take a lot of these old photographs for granted, or just take them more seriously. Because especially now with all these whistleblowers coming out with all the weakest evidence, like the egg and some other shit. It's just, how much can we really take without going nuts?
Right.
And yeah. And I think Wendell Stevens was very key on like being independent and being a collector and trading with other UFO collectors and other enthusiasts. Again, that's how he gained his collection.
But
My
let's
God.
not forget, Wendell Stevens was a lieutenant colonel. That's nothing. That ain't no rank to sneeze at. You're earmarked for general. Like, next rank up is 1-star general. So, I mean, he must have been extremely talented, a brilliant pilot, to become a lieutenant colonel, to get that high up in the ranks, and then to leave such a stellar military record of service to jump into the field of ufology. I heard him talk one time about, like in the 40s, after World War II, and stuff like that, the Foo Fighters, and like he witnessed those things while flying. And that's what piqued his interest in ufology, not from hearing stories or reading magazines about the War of the Worlds and things like that. He actually saw the Foo Fighters. And for those that don't know, the Foo Fighters are like these little orange orbs that would chase the military planes and like follow them everywhere. And they saw these things everywhere. And back in World War II, they didn't know if this was advanced technology from the Germans, from the Chinese. Like, they had no idea what was going on. They didn't know alien technology like we know today. It was a different ball game back then. And don't forget, after we dropped the atomic bombs, that's when all this stuff started happening. So this is the age, the era, the Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens era, when all this ramped up and started. So he's at the precipice of this, and now he leads you into the late 90s, early 2000s. Over 50 years worth of him doing research on this stuff, and you have a whole slew of his photos, which is amazing. Now, the actual auction that took place, what else were they selling? Do you happen to know?
Just other photographs, document, paperwork. I think just like copies of his rough drafts of his books.
Oh, cool.
And let's see what else they had. They had one. He said there was one artifact that was like part of alien material.
Really?
Apparently, it went up to like
ridiculous money. I bet.
Like 10,000. Someone's like, again, like not everybody caught wind about this. Like, I bet if every researcher, UFO research, knew that the storage locker thing was going on, it wasn't like heavily announced. It was just like I ran across it on eBay. They were doing the live auctions. I was like, oh. It had this long description. I'm like,
lucky me. Yeah.
Looking at my savings here. So,
I
did spend a pretty penny to get these photographs. And when I was on a podcast on the Spaced Out Radio, I was on Jessica Jones and Jim Goodall.
The Cryptid Hunters.
Yeah, Jim Goodall from Skunk Works, retiree. Yeah.
Good friend.
He went over the F-117 photographs and he was just jaw dropped.
He must have been drooling over those.
Yeah. Oh, he was. He's like, man, he's like, you don't know what you have. You have a gold mine, bro. I'm like, oh, just to hear that from your mouth is like, yes.
Jim's
good old said so.
Yeah, good old said so. Jim is extremely brilliant. He's written many books. The F1, what is it? The F-70, the Blackbird is his favorite. The F-71 Blackbird. Yeah. That's his baby, that plane. To hear that from Jim Goodall probably blew your mind, right?
It did, yeah.
Yeah. So Dustin, I just showed everyone the video of the lightning storm and the UFO that went through the clouds.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. What was that day like, and what happened, man? How'd you come across
Incredible.
Again, there was just a huge storm in the backyard. I guess it knocked the. Let me start over. There was a big storm that came rolling in through Madison and knocked the power out in the neighborhood for about a week.
Wow.
So the lightning was going crazy. I just wanted to catch some cool lightning on my iPhone in slow motion mode because I thought the best way to catch some lightning is in slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just happened to just aim my phone up to the sky, caught some awesome lightning, and I ran back into the house to check what the footage was. And shit you not, there's a fucking UFO just going across the sky. Just. But the best part about it, because the wind was blowing about 45 miles per hour, that one single leaf
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
falls in front of the camera, and it gives it great reference for speed and size, especially for this thing flying right across, and it almost intersect. It's just like too fucking perfect that me and myself being outside catching a UFO on camera, shot it in the dark.
And
No way.
MUFON, you brought it to MUFON, and MUFON actually.
Yeah. Because
elaborated on
I
that.
posted this on Facebook and it got 36,000 views in like 2 days.
Wow.
And like people were like, send this in the MUFON right now. I'm like, all right. So I had to fill out a little paperwork and I sent in the videos. I really detailed because I don't want like people mistaking that leaf to be a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, the guy agreed. He got back to me and
He wrote up a whole report that it was definitely an unidentified flying object. It doesn't have any propulsion or wings or any visible means of propulsion. And like you said, it left a shadow on the cloud. So that's really interesting sighting. It kind of looked like a cigar to me. And again, I blew it. Yeah, it's really fast. I blew it up. I slowed it down. I zoomed in and magnified it. You know, for those that might say, oh, it's a bird. No, it wasn't. There's no wing flap. There's none of that. It's just a cylindrical object.
How smooth it was.
Yeah, like just
smooth.
Totally
smooth as shit.
And people don't understand when you're filming or photographing, you know, you're only in that it looks like that reference point is such like a small frame, but it's not. It's the whole width of a backyard. So when you think about that, even if it's like one full yard, that's a big space to cover. You know what I mean? And it just so smooth. And again, no wing flap, no none of that. Now, rough calculation, because you know your backyard better than we do. How far do you speculate that object was from your camera, or how high in the sky? Because I'm going to speculate. Normally, a storm like that, the clouds are very low. So I'm going to say maybe those clouds were like in the 8 to 1,200 foot range from you. And for the object to be casting a shadow on a cloud, again, it would tell me that it's in the 8 to 1,200 foot range, somewhere in there. So it wasn't close to the camera. It's far away if it's leaving a shadow on a cloud. And you could see it was rather large. So when you came back in your house and you looked at that, did you come to the same conclusion that the object was probably rather large?
Yeah, because to be up that high and to be visible on the camera, yeah. It can't be just be like a little a bug. And especially a bug doesn't go straight like that.
Well, and not in 40, 50 mile an hour winds either.
Yeah.
You know? Little bug, he's all over the place. And, you know, I just like to cover that, you know, because you'll always have a skeptic in the audience that it's this or it's that. And it's good to cover all these points and all our bases so they can fully wrap their heads around exactly what went on there.
But I like what you did with the editing, with showing different lighting and different speeds. And seriously, like pointing it out with the red. No, it's very awesome that you did that. Because, people, for some reason, just keep following the leaf and they can't go past the leaf. It's like, are you crazy? maybe seriously, maybe it's meant to see for only certain people. I had no idea. Like, I
actually put it, we put it up on Epic TV and it's got over 5,500 views already. And a lot of people got stumped the minute the leaf falls down. You know why? And I'll tell you why. Because when you're looking when you know it's going to be a UFO coming, the first object that moves, everybody's eyes run to it. Sure. That's why I looped it so many times. So people finally realize that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, there it is. That's what I'm looking for.
Look beyond the leaf. Look
be honest.
beyond the leaf.
It's kind of hard to see because it's cloaked in the clouds. You just see
Yeah.
the shadow of it go through, and really awesome catch, man. You've
Thank you.
been fortunate
Excellent.
twice now. This is 2 times you've been fortunate. Once you had that boomerang UFO over you walking to your car, and another time in a lightning storm. So that's pretty cool. You know, a lot of people never get to see a UFO. Robert and I speak to hundreds of people that have never ever seen a UFO, and they're outside all the time trying to. And you know, you were fortunate enough now to see 2. So I'm going to ask you this: are you a believer, a full-blown believer now, or are you still a little skeptical about what's in the sky?
Oh, I'm a full believer.
You're a full-blown believer.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So are we. Like,
Now,
I always
have
tell people, I
these
know.
photos played a role in that, Dustin? Have these
Definitely.
photos
Oh, definitely.
made
Yeah.
you believe more? Wow.
Oh yeah, especially like when you see it online and digitally, and like sometimes it's been passed around so much, it's just so grainy after a while, and it's just like the fact that you can hold it in your hand and actually turn it around and have Wendell Stevens' handwriting in the back of it.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
In closing, let me ask you this: the photo book you actually brought over to MUFON as well. What did they have to say about it?
So I was invited to the Chicago Paranormal Convention.
Okay.
And I shared a booth with Barnaby Jones, who's part of Wisconsin Caps. And magically, his booth, out of all the 80 vendors over there, was right across from MUFON.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, "Get your ass over there." Well, I'm like, all right, man. I was just nervous because I know what these are, you know, and then, like, I don't know if people like would want them or try to offer me money. You know what I'm saying? I'm always putting these fears in my head. Like, I'm not trying to sell them. These are gonna be with me until I die and pass it on to my nieces. Or you, maybe. Yeah, so I went over there and I brought them the photo album, and I told them my whole story of how I got these. And the head director, Samuel, I forgot his last name, but he was there, and his eyes were popping out of his head, and him and his colleagues are all hunched over, taking every page in at a time. He's like, I can't believe we're seeing this. I'm like, I pulled out some of them with Wendell's handwriting, and they're like, whoa, you know. And then they're like, okay, we need all your information. We need your phone number, what's your podcast, and again, I was just making friends. And then after I left that table, I was told by another guy. He came back over and he's like, "Dude, those guys were talking about you for a good another 20 minutes after you left." Like, really? So again, I made an impact enough for like these people are curious. They added me on Facebook. Again, it's just very. Once I like show these people this, what I have, it's just like their eyes are all lit up. It is the golden ticket, straight up.
And what was great was you actually had somebody film that interaction, and we're going to show that right now.
Thanks again. My name is Dustin Schutta, and you can find me at Flying Chariots The Rise podcast, and it's YouTube and Spotify. Or you can find me on Facebook, Dustin Schutta, and I'm usually down to answer any questions or share any information that I have. Come hang out with us.
Thank you, everyone, so much for coming out to watch this. If you enjoyed it, please comment down below. Give us your thoughts and your opinions. Also, hit that like button. And once we get up to a certain amount, we will make sure to do a part 2 showing you even more of some of these photos along with Dustin. It really helps us to know if you are really enjoying the content. Also, down in the description, you can find contact information for Dustin, Anthony, and myself. So please make sure that you go down there and check that out. And if you're interested, June 14th, we have the Spruce Pine Alien Festival, and we are speaking, Anthony and I, for Project Horizon at the Sky Tribe UFO Expo in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, June 14th. You can find ticket information down in the description as well. So thank you, everyone. And remember, we are the Disclosure. Project Horizon out.